Hello everyone, Cindy here with Monarch Mom DIY. Thank you so much for joining me today on my channel where I love to bring you the best tips and tools for creating beautiful home decor on a budget. Today I'm very excited to share with you these three high-end looking modern farmhouse home decor that I made on a budget using items mostly from the Dollar Tree and other easy to find supplies. For today's first project, we're going to be making a hanging crate flower display using 4 of these small wooden crates, some different natural elements like jute twine and some cotton rope, some adhesive cork sheet. And first thing we're going to do is using some wood glue and some clamps, we're going to glue these 4 crates together in a square like this. So you have them going around in the square, and then that little tiny square space will be in the center. So I'm just going to put wood glue on the end of the one crate there at the top left and attach it to the one going sideways, and then put a clamp on there until it's dried completely. So you can see there how I'm gluing them and then letting them dry completely. Now here, once it's dry, you definitely have the option of leaving it just the plain wood. I decided this time I was going to use my truffle dark brown chalk paint and just give it a solid coat on the outside and the inside, and then let that dry completely. And then once that was completely dry, then I'm going to distress it a little bit by using my mineral chalk paint and a chippy brush here. I'm just going to dry brush that mineral all around the outside, the bottom, and the top edge. Now, Modern Farmhouse uses a lot of natural elements and neutral colors, so I decided I was going to use a little bit of this adhesive cork sheet from Dollar Tree that I have not used yet in a project. Cork is just another natural element, so I cut this, I believe it was about 8 3/4, and then I'm going to do 3/4 inch strips to go all the way around the top edge of our hanging display box. So even though this does have adhesive backing on it, I wasn't sure how well it would stick to the painted wood, so I did take the backing paper off, but I am going to also put hot glue on, and I'm just going to adhere this all the way around the top edge of our box. Then taking some of the white cotton rope, after removing the tape there on the end, I'm going to unwind it, and then just taking one of the strands at a time, I'm going to hot glue this around the bottom edge of the box. This was one of my kind of create as you go projects, just wanting to bring in different textures but still keep with that natural color scheme. So I did go 3 times around the bottom of the box and then left the center the painted wood. Now taking one of these small embroidery hoops and 1 8-foot length of the jute nautical rope, I'm cutting it in half, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave about 6 inches hanging there at the bottom, and I'm going to glue the nautical rope on the corners, the 4 corners of the box. So here, starting with this corner, I'm putting a generous amount of hot glue. You saw I measured the 6 inches that's going to hang at the bottom. And then once that is in place, I'm going to add a little extra glue for reinforcement. And then I'm going to take that length of rope and I'm going to go diagonally across after putting the hoop on there. I'm going to go diagonally across and measure 6 inches again and glue the rope on the corner. So I did the 2 opposite diagonal corners, and then I'm going to go back and do the other 2 corners. So the 2 pieces of rope crisscross each other at the top where the little hoop is. Then on each corner, I'm unwinding the 3 strands of the rope and then unwinding each individual strand to give that tassel or that fray there at the bottom. Now that our box is complete, I'm going to take a small piece of floral foam and hot glue that into each of our 4 crates, and then using some more hot glue, I'm going to add some of the floral moss on top of that floral foam so that our box is ready to add whatever greenery or florals or succulents, whatever you would like to add to this hanging display. I'm taking this greenery garland from Hobby Lobby. I've been using it for quite a while, and I'm going to cut off pieces about this big that I can then arrange inside. I think I cut about 8 or 9 pieces, so I will put about 2 pieces in each crate and just make a nice greenery bush to hang in this hanger. And here's what our hanging display looks like. When you hold it up by the hoop, you can again put any greenery or flowers inside that you'd like. And I just love all the natural elements used in this project and the neutral color scheme for that modern farmhouse look. If you're new to my channel and you love budget home decor, I sure hope you'll consider sticking around by hitting that subscribe button, and then also hit the bell and choose the notifications so YouTube will let you know each time I upload a new video. Today's second project is going to also be a hanging project. These are going to be hanging 3-tiered trays using tumbling tower blocks, 1-gallon paint stir sticks, and some rope. So I wanted to make, first of all, 3 different sizes of trays. So my first one is going to have 4 sides that have 4 sets of 3. My middle tray is going to have 5 sets of 3 on each side, and the largest one 6 sets of 3. So the way I'm going to build the sides of each tray is, like I said, I'm going to have my sides be 3 blocks high. So here I'm gluing 3 blocks together and then letting those dry. So here I'm going to glue all my 6 separate sets of 3, and then once those are dried, I'm going to glue those sets together. So this is one side of my largest tray. All right, this is 6 sets of 3, and I'm going to make 4 of these to make all 4 sides of my tray. And here you can see those 6 sets being glued together. So this is now coming back to my smallest tray. These 4 sides each have 4 sets of 3 blocks. You can see I'm going to glue them together here in a square. So that left piece is glued to the bottom side of the top piece, and then my right piece is going to be glued to the side of that top piece. So we're kind of overlapping, and then that bottom piece will be glued to both the left and the right pieces. I am using a combination of tacky glue and hot glue, you can see there, for gluing my squares or my trays together. And I'm going to do this process for all 3 sizes of my trays. Then for the bottom of my trays, I'm cutting some 1-gallon paint sticks to fit perfectly across the bottom of my tray. And I'm just going to glue these down with wood glue until they are dried completely. You can also see, like at the top and bottom of this crate, I've left a little bit of space. That is where I'm going to tie the knots that will hold these trays together. You'll see that in just a minute. So once I had all 3 of my trays built and they were dried completely, I did decide that I wanted to give them a coat of antique wax. So I started with this smallest one here and just brushing it on and then wiping away the excess. I just love how it really elevates the look of this project. And I did do the antique wax on all the sides, the bottom, and the inside of each of my 3 trays. I did notice that the 2 sides of each tray that the paint sticks were not glued to were a little bit flimsy, so I decided to cut 2 pieces of paint stick that I'm going to also paint the antique wax so they blend in, and then I'm going to glue these. See how that's a little bendy there? I'm going to glue those on the inside of my tray so you won't really see them. They'll blend in, but it'll just reinforce those 2 sides with the tumbling tower blocks. We want our finished product to be sturdy and be able to hold any decor items we put inside. Now this next step was one of those last minute additions. As I was creating, I came across these like furniture tacks, and I decided to add a little bit of this industrial look to my trays. So I took 2 tacks, and just on the right side, I'm going to put 2 on each side of my tray. So I'm using 8 of these tacks per tray, and just on the right hand side there. In some places the wood was soft enough that I could just push the tack in. Now you could just use regular jute twine to or nautical rope to hang your trays. I found I had these jute lengths that had tassels on either end, so I had 12 of them, which was perfect. So I decided on each of them to pull one of the tassels off, and then where the tassel was left on, I did knot it again around the tassel to secure it and to make the knot a little bit bigger, because what I'm going to do now is, starting with my biggest tray, I'm going to feed that through so that the knot and the tassel catch there on the corner. Then to hold it in place, I'm going to use some hot glue and run that on the inside of the corner, and then pull that jute twine there until it is dried in place. So I'm doing this to all 4 corners of my large tray. Now that those 4 pieces are adhered to the inside of our large tray, now I am taking the other end and going up through our medium tray. And what we're going to do then is try to keep our 4 twines the same length, but we're going to tie a knot now so that it will hold the medium tray and the large tray together. So I'm trying to make all 4 of these have the knot in basically the same place so that when I lift it up, it will hang pretty level. Once I had the knots in the right place, I did hot glue those into the bottom of the medium tray. Then I took 4 more of my tassel strings and put them coming up the 4 corners of the medium tray, glued those into place on the inside corners, and then now I have that going up through the small tray, again making my knots so that the medium tray will also hang as evenly as possible. Then once I do have that to hang straight, I'm going to then again glue the knots into the inside of the small tray and cut off any excess there at the top of my knot. somehow I didn't get this on film, but then I took my last 4 tassel strings and put those up through the smallest tray. There you can see the tassels, and then just tied those 4 strings together at the top. You can put an S hook in there to make this hang. This is actually a pretty large item I'm super excited about. And our third project is a reversible project. I love these, and I'm using the Home and Love sign from Dollar Tree, 8 frames, some craft sticks, and some tumbling tower blocks. So I really liked these signs, but they're kind of small, and I wanted to make something reversible with them and a little bit larger. So it took some hair blow dryer and cutting pieces, but I got those removed from their stands. And then I am going to take my 8 frames and remove the backings and the little metal clips. So once I have my black frames here, I'm going to take some of my white Waverly chalk paint, and I'm just going to dry brush them just to, again, give them more of that farmhouse look. I am using neutral colors to go along with Modern Farmhouse Decor, and just doing this dry brushing on all 8, and then I will spray a clear coat. Now, I am taking these giant craft sticks, these are from Walmart, and I am measuring how I would need to cut them for them to fit across the back of each frame. So one of these giant craft sticks will give me 2 pieces that will be the length I need. I'll need 5 of these pieces to cover the back of each of my frames. So 5 times 8 frames, I'm going to need 40 pieces, which would be 20 of the large sticks. So once I got all those cut, I am going to do the antique wax on them just to go along with that Modern Farmhouse color scheme. Once everything's dry, I'm going to flip over my frame, and I'm going to fit 5 pieces of the craft stick inside. You may have to trim a little bit extra off when you go to start fitting them in, but I'm just using hot glue here around the edges. You don't want to put too much because you don't want the hot glue to seep through to the front, but just put a little around the edge and lay down one of your craft sticks and keep doing that. You may have to trim the bottom one a little bit to get it to fit in, but I really love how this looks. It's got that nice shiplap or palette look. So I'm going to do that to all 8 of my frames. Now you can see I cut apart the pieces of the Love and Home sign, and they were more of a shiny metal. I did spray them with a galvanized spray paint and then kind of dabbed some of it off with paper towel. I'm gonna hot glue everything onto the pieces of craft stick. Now, to make this a 2-sided project, I'm going to first flip my Love frames over, and using 2 of these large 5-gallon paint stir sticks from the hardware store, I'm going to glue them to the backs of my Love frames. Here I'm showing you what it's going to look like, but I am going to flip it over because of that greenery wreath for the letter O. It was not laying as flat as the others. So here I'm going to put glue and then lay down the L, the O, the V, and the E. Once I had all of those stuck on, now I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to glue the home frames on. Now you can see how it's got a little bit of a gap at the top and the bottom, and I was trying to figure out how I was going to get this thing to stand up. So I decided to make a little stand out of tumbling tower blocks. So right there, that gap, these 18 tumbling tower blocks here at the top that I'm showing you in sets of 3 are going to stand up and fit inside that space between the 2 frames. So the first thing I'm doing is gluing my sets of 3 together like you've seen me do before. And then down here, this will be the base of the stand. So I'm going to then do 12 sets of 2. And we're going to glue them together first in the sets of 2, and then we'll glue all the sets together. So here's the smaller sets. Then you can see the 18 are being glued all together here. These are the ones that the frames are going to fit down on top of. And then the other 2 rows there towards the bottom are going to be glued together like this. Now here's that piece that has 18. We're just going to put a line of wood glue on towards the bottom on either side, and then we're going to glue our stand together by standing that up and then sandwiching it between those other 2 lines of tumbling tower blocks. Now while this is drying, we're just going to go ahead and give it a coat of our black chalk paint just so it would kind of blend in with the entire project. And then you can see how it sits inside the space of the frames. I hope that makes sense, but I was really excited when I saw that a tumbling tower block was going to fit perfectly inside that little gap that's basically between the O and M frames. So I love this reversible project. I hope you guys do too. These projects were a lot of fun to create and keep in that modern farmhouse look. Thanks again for joining me today for this DIY video. Please give this video a big thumbs up, as that really does help me to grow my channel. And also, I love to hear your comments of which project was your favorite. Take care, and we'll see you next time.